Victus by William Ernest Henley. William Ernest Henley was born on August 23rd, 1849, in Gloucester, Gloucestershire, which is located within England. Henry grew up in the Victorian era, which lasted from 1837 to 1901, a time where Great Britain was considered a global superpower and was very class-heavy. Henry never wrote about politics in his poems for the most part, and he wasn't involved in them all that much. Henry had tuberculosis of the bone, which led to him getting his leg amputated off at the age of 16. Fun fact, Henry actually wrote this poem on a hospital bed. He was also friends with Robert Louis Stevenson, a very famous author. The Victorian era was heavily influenced by Christianity. It was also a time of great doubt surrounding religion as a whole. Henry himself was a doubter and did not believe in any religion. This poem also happens to be a prime example of a piece of Victorian literature, due to both its themes of resilience and moral fortitude. Throughout this poem, you can see the use of existentialism, especially considering he emphasizes individual freedom when shaping one's destiny. This poem also happens to be a great example of how poetry is giving people a voice. As previously mentioned, William Ernest Henley was actually in a hospital bed while writing this poem due to a grave injury he suffered. Through the use of poetry, William was able to turn a sad time into a powerful, strong, uplifting, and inspirational story that allowed him and others to overcome and achieve challenges due to his uplifting spirit. That his poem reminded these people that they did, in fact, have that ability.
The poem has a regular A-B rhyme scheme in each stanza, which gives it a strong rhythm that matches the speaker's message of strength and resilience. This constant structure creates a sense of order even in difficult times, showing how the speaker takes control of their own fate and soul, highlighting the theme of personal empowerment against life's changes.
The poem's core message is to maintain yourself even through hardships. The human spirit is unconquerable, and in order to persevere, you must be one with your spirit. The poem's title, Invictus, in Latin means unconquered or unconquerable, which makes perfect sense when aligning it with the theme. This poem matters as it brings hope to a lot of people, this including Nelson Mandela, who listened and read the poem throughout his imprisonment. Henley wrote this poem due to his amputation of his leg. However, even though he suffered physically, this didn't mean that emotionally he had to suffer, and so he wrote it all down on a paper. Previously mentioned, this poem does go into existentialism. However, it also is a biographical criticism of Henley's life and how he was able to overcome his amputation and his injury and express it into the poem, giving it real meaning. Invictus is a great example of a poem being able to convey depth and meaning in the shortest way possible, especially with the way that it only uses 4 stanzas, and the use of imagery is very vivid within the poem. We also see the emotional resonance that Henley is able to convey through his poem and the layered meanings, especially considering a line, "out of the night that covers me," which symbolizes both hardship, fear, potentially death, depending on a reader's perspective.
Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. This first stanza gives a solemn tone, where the night that covers me is a metaphor of despair, hardship. The comparison, black as the pit from pole to pole, shows an image of boundless and oppressive darkness, but the speaker feels grateful for his unconquerable soul, and from this a note of inner strength erupts. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Henley shows the harshness of life through terms such as fell clutch of circumstance and bludgeonings of chance. These metaphors turn life into a violent antagonist, but despite these trials, what makes the character firm is that he will not wince nor cry aloud. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. The horror of the shade is a metaphor for death, perhaps from classical conceptions of the underworld, yet even so the speaker remains undaunted, declaring that time's relentless passing and the menace of years cannot cow their spirit. This tone is firm with an assertion of fearless attitude towards death. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul. This is a stanza of triumph. Straight the gate is the biblical teaching about the straight way to salvation. while punishments, the scroll insinuates divine judgment. But with these allusions, the speaker now claims his independence with those famous lines, "I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul." This is the self-determination that has always seemed the enduring message of the poem, the independence of the human spirit to plot its course regardless of all outward forces.
We chose this poem due to the timelessness of it, and that words are still resonating deeply in today's society, and that you can manipulate these words into your own meaning, and they still have their own value.